Hi there. My name is Chris Collar, and I'm the Safety and Security Manager for Green Bay Area Public Schools. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the Wisconsin Threat Assessment and Management Protocol. Here's a little background about the Wisconsin Threat Assessment and Management Protocol. In 2017, Act 143 created the Office of School Safety and required them to provide the best practice guidance to schools around the state. In March of 2019, the Office of School Safety released two documents related to school safety, the Threat Assessment Protocol and the Comprehensive School Security Framework. The Wisconsin Threat Assessment and Management Protocol should be applied as an early intervention tool to assist students exhibiting concerning behaviors. Documents with each phase were updated in May of 2022, and the levels of risk descriptions were updated as well. So you're better able to follow along with what this presentation is about. You can go to the Office of School Safety website, click on the School Safety Resources tab on the left-hand side. The Threat Assessment and Management Protocol is at the top of the page. You could open up the threat assessment forms listed and review them during the presentation. Feel free to pause the video to give yourself enough time. You can also review the National Threat Evaluation and Reporting Office, Department of Homeland Security document, Developing a Multidisciplinary BTAM Team. BTAM stands for Behavioral Threat Assessment and Management Team. Each threat assessment team should have a designated leader. The team should be made up of several members, including admin, an SRO, student services, teachers, or anyone else in your district who can support your process. You should establish protocols and procedures for each assessment, and the team should meet whenever a concerning student or situation has been brought to their attention, but also meet on a regular basis to review procedures and discuss scenarios. The next thing your threat assessment team is going to need to do is identify and define the prohibited behaviors that are unacceptable and warrant immediate intervention. Some of those could be violence, threats, weapons, harassment, or bullying. You also need to identify concerning behaviors that may not indicate violence but warrant some intervention if other factors are present, such as a decline in academic performance, truancy, withdrawal or isolation, sudden change of behavior, substance abuse, or evidence of mental health crisis. The threshold for intervention should be relatively low so you can identify students in distress before their behavior escalates. The Office of School Safety created the Wisconsin Threat Assessment and Management Protocol WSTAMP process. This process was intended to be used for low-level threat assessments. If you go to the Office of School Safety website, under the School Safety Resources tab, you can find these documents. The process document explains the process of how you would complete the paperwork. The flowchart is there to help you navigate the system of whether you should conduct a threat assessment or take immediate action. The documents that are used are the triage form, which is required to be completed by 2 trained BTAM members, and the primary purpose of the triage process is to determine if there is a need for an additional investigative steps such as a threat assessment. The inquiry process guides trained BTAM members through the investigative steps of gathering information. The 11 questions have a mix of checkboxes and text fields for BTAM members to provide detail, but does not have specific interview questions. The BTAM may find that the full threat assessment is needed while conducting investigations during the inquiry process. The original Wisconsin Threat Assessment Protocol has 3 phases. You can find links to these documents on the Office of School Safety website under the School Safety Resources. This threat assessment protocol has an overview document which explains each phase and which documents are required to be completed. Several forms are required to be completed for a threat assessment to be considered valid, and several forms are optional based on the circumstances of the reported threatening behavior. It is important to document any information that may guide your decision-making in the threat assessment process. The threat assessment process has 3 phases. Phase 1 and Phase 3 are required for any threat assessment, but Phase 2 is only required for a medium or high-level threat assessment. Here is the information regarding Phase 1. These are forms that are required and forms that are optional. For Phase 1, you must complete the cover sheet, which has to have at least the names of 2 people that are participating in the assessment. The threat report provides the details of what the threat or concerning behavior is. A teacher survey is a document of questions that your teachers can provide information about the student. The person of concern interview is a document that must always be completed with the person who made the threat or has the concerning behavior. A target interview is done with someone if there is a target of the threat listed or concerning behavior. A parent, foster parent, legal guardian interview should always be completed to get information from the family when possible. And then the level of concern form is what you determine whether the risk of the threat is low, medium, or high. Depending on how you indicate the level of concern depends on whether you move to phase 2 or phase 3 of the threat assessment. Optional forms are the emergency operations form, which you document the different times in which you contacted people. Witness interview or additional interviewee are documents that you can use to speak with other people who may be involved in the situation and provide answers to some specific questions. Phase 2 is required for all medium or high level threats. This phase takes a deeper dive into your student and their background and other supports that might be with them. You're required to fill out the cover sheet in phase 2 in the event that you added additional people to your threat assessment team. In most cases, you're going to have the same people listed as you do under phase 1. First form you need to complete is the key observations form. The information in the key observations form must be considered in the broader context of the situation and other known facts. Make sure that you have considered these items when developing your case plan or plan of support. Some of the things that you're going to look into is determine if the person is taking responsibility for what they said or did. Are they willing to make amends for what they said or did? Or has there been any prior things that have occurred that you need to make yourself aware of? The factors of concern form should be used for intervention planning. Some of the factors considered in identifying possible interventions to assist the student of concern or reduce risk. You're checking the history of any physical violence or criminal acts. You're determining if he's got a history of any anger or feels bullied or any self-harm or mental illness. The protective factors document is also used for intervention planning. Protective factors are characteristics associated with a lower likelihood of a negative outcome or that reduce the risk factor's impact. Protective factors may be seen as positive characteristics to help counter challenges. Some of the things you're going to look into is whether or not they've got a good family support, if they are able to have coping skills, looking at their academic achievement, looking at their connections in a positive way to the school or to anything outside of the building that might support the student. The level of concern form in phase 2 allows you to reclassify the level of concern if you feel it's warranted. When you are at this level in phase 2, you're considered medium or high level. So information that you might find out while you're completing this form could allow you to move your threat assessment from a medium level to a high level. If you are going to do that, on the form you need to indicate what the level of the threat was and what you were making it, and then provide a reason for the change. The optional form in this section is additional sources of information. This is where you would review the information of your student, seeing if there was any prior discipline, attendance, academic records, any special education, if possible, reviewing social media, or if there's any ability to access any documents from law enforcement that might support the threat assessment. Phase 3 of the threat assessment is required on all threat assessments. In this phase, you will again complete a cover sheet, which might include additional people that are part of the case plan or case management follow-up. But the forms that are required to be completed are the response to the threat or concerning behavior. This is a list of common actions taken in response to concerning behaviors. Each case may require a unique set of actions. On this form, you would check the boxes of the things that were done as a part of this threat assessment, and then sign and date when they were completed. Some examples of those things might be increased contact or monitoring, parent conference, a student apology, any schedule changes, IEP or 504 plan meetings or reviews, suspensions, any legal actions, or if law enforcement was involved. This may also include things like a check-in, check-out, or daily search. The case plan form is a document that can be used to describe the plan for any case and should be completed when concerning behavior indicates that a plan of support is needed. Keep in mind that if a subject is suspended or expelled for concerning behavior or moves out of the district, it does not eliminate their risk of attack. There will need to be a plan of support to determine if the subject is successfully receiving needed services. If they continue to pose a risk or harmful unwanted behavior, appropriate actions in response to the continuation of concerning behavior should be taken to intervene in possible attacks. In this document, you indicate what action is being taken and then who is going to be responsible for that action. The last one is the case management or follow-up task assignment. That's where you indicate on a timeline who is going to be doing a task and what the timeline is for it and who is responsible for it. The Office of School Safety also provides some additional resources available to you. One of those is the Comprehensive School Security Framework, second edition. This guide was originally created in 2019 and updated in 2024, summarizing school security practices and procedures which are recommended for all schools. The Safe Schools Legal Resource Manual, 6th edition, is a resource for the laws relating to school safety and other topics, including search and seizure, speech, bullying, confidentiality, and child abuse. These documents can be found on the Office of School Safety website and can be reviewed and used as part of your threat assessment process as needed. Some additional resources are listed on the Office of School Safety website. From the DPI, the mandatory reporting of threats of school violence. This training is required to be completed when an employee is newly hired and then on a 5-year cycle. And then there's some additional information on creating the multidisciplinary behavioral threat assessment and management teams, the BTAM teams. There's some documents from the Department of Homeland Security on developing a team, and then some guidance on identifying concerning behaviors. One big thing when creating a threat assessment process is you need to identify what the concerning behaviors are that are going to require threat assessments to be completed. A lot of times you can look at whatever your systems of support are in the disciplinary level at your school and identify what things might occur that would cause a threat assessment to be completed. You need to think about things just outside of something that someone says or does that is specifically a threat to the school or a threat to other people. There could be some additional behaviors that are occurring where you would want to conduct a threat assessment, remembering that the purpose of threat assessments is not to punish necessarily the student. A lot of times what you're doing with these threat assessments is identifying areas where the student needs support or maybe has some trusted people within your building or some support outside of school, and finding ways to either increase that or find people that maybe can be that person of contact for that person. It's important to make sure that each student has people that they can trust and rely on and go to if they have things that they need to discuss. So trying to create those processes is an important part of the culture of your building and making sure that everyone feels comfortable talking to someone about problems they have or reporting something that they may be seeing or hearing. I want to thank you for participating in my Wisconsin Threat Assessment and Management Protocol training. Just want to remind you that the Office of School Safety website has lots of great information on it. The School Safety Resources tab provides information related to all the threat assessment information I've shared with you. It's downloadable and in fillable PDF, so you can use it however you need to. There's also a link to training opportunities, and the Office of School Safety does provide behavioral threat assessment and management training where you can get additional training on how to use the forms that were created. They host them throughout the state. So if you check the website, you could probably find one close to you and attend it. The classes appear to be about an 8-hour class and will give you a better understanding of how the process works. Thank you and have a great day.